Well, welcome. This is an overture of a webinar series entitled Effective Litigation of Parental Alienation, and it's put on or sponsored by the National Association of Parental Alienation Specialists. Hi, I'm Dr. Bob Evans.
And my name is Dr. Michael Bone.
And we are introducing the National Association of Parental Alienation Specialists and this particular webinar series, which we think we're going to find very interesting and rewarding.
One of the things that we've found, I think we both have found, is that we are contacted on a regular basis by parents asking, do we know attorneys that are familiar with this phenomenon? And it's a big country, so typically we don't have specific recommendations. But it led us to an understanding that really there is a need for education for this so that these parents can find attorneys who can represent their interests in these very difficult and specific cases. So it's from that we developed the National Association of Parental Alienation Specialists, basically to provide education and then become a referral source as parents contact us and the website for specific attorneys in their area.
So what we want to do now is give you a brief overview of the webinar series, ever so brief, and hopefully you'll find that this is an exciting program and you're going to want to sign up for it.
And briefly, there are 11 modules that are a little over an hour each, and we want to just touch on what each of them is here just to give you a taste of that.
So now module 1 is basically how can parental alienation happen?
One of the things that happens in these cases, there's a high degree of suggestibility that's involved, and there's a lot of scientific information that really explains why this is and how vulnerable kids are to the particular influences that we find in parental alienation cases.
Children are developmentally primed to be alienated and or, for the want of a better word, brainwashed.
Exactly.
And that we get into why that's a legitimate terminology, by the way.
Absolutely.
And we talk about the reliability of children's testimony. It's not that children always tell a lie or misrepresent, but they're not always telling the truth either, or they're not telling what is really going on in a situation. And the attorney in the court needs to understand that children are very vulnerable to suggestion, and they may not be telling what's really going on.
This is a very interesting module and very content rich, I think.
One of the things you'll find about our program is that it's not only a presentation with slides and Dr. Bone and I talking about what's on the slides, but it's rich with a lot of videos that explain a lot of what we're talking about and really enrich the program quite significantly.
Module 2 is about parental alienation, specifically about the pathological parenting that is involved with this, because really when an alienating parent is doing kind of the opposite of what they should do in terms of supporting a relationship between the child and the other parent. And within this we talk further about misrepresentation and implanted memories, things such as that. We deal with parental alienation versus parental alienation syndrome. There is a way to resolve any confusion about that.
There's a lot of controversy that is going to be presented in the courts, and there's a lot of misinformation about both parental alienation as well as parental alienation syndrome, and the informed attorney who finds their cases with this phenomenon going on really needs to be prepared to deal with some of the arguments that are going to be presented to them about these concepts. Module 3, we talk about 17 alienating strategies. There are very specific research-based behaviors that alienating parents will exhibit. Not necessarily all 17, but once you get a sense of what these are, you'll see what may be going on in a case that you have.
And again, all this is based, I think we should point out, in the latest scientific evidence-based research and literature. So every bit of this, what we'll be talking about, really is grounded in good science, of which we talk about the sources.
One of the most fascinating videos that we present is Dr. Philip Zimbardo, who wrote a book entitled The Lucifer Effect. Basically, why do good people do bad things? And he demonstrates how simple and easy it is to get to the bad side of people.
Exactly.
And then we also talk about specific behaviors of the alienating parent. Module 4, we talk about brainwashing and the reliability of children's testimony. Brainwashing and programming techniques, is a book sponsored or published by the American Bar Association entitled Children Held Hostage, two versions of it, the most recent one, and they talk about the whole concept of brainwashing, the research behind it, and the programming techniques that they discovered in 1,000 cases, conflict cases in family law.
I mean, this subject matter is very important because children in these cases are misrepresenting things. They're saying things that describing things that didn't happen, and this really provides the background and research to explain how this can be, and how this can be rather easily too.
Module 5 is the detection of parental alienation. How do you know this is going on in a case, and what can you may be able to orchestrate in terms of strategies that you're going to have to employ? We talk about the specific behaviors that children exhibit who are alienated, and we also talk about the specific alienating behaviors that a alienating parent exhibits.
Exactly. I mean, being able to distinguish between a child who has been truly abused and a child who claims to have been but in fact is alienated, there are ways to determine and to delineate those two, and we'll be covering that.
We go into quite some detail on that. We talk about the symptoms of parental alienation. There are 8 specific symptoms in the literature that talk about the presence of parental alienation, and then we also cover the severity levels of the problem.
Because each, the mild, moderate, and severe require different interventions, and we really are of the opinion that severe level is a little bit different than the other two. We talk about that.
Module 7 goes into bias. We find that there are specific types of bias that are exhibited by professionals. The interesting piece about this is bias is primarily unconscious, but the effects of bias can basically turn your case upside down.
Exactly, and these cases are bias rich. They really, really are. There's a whole lot of black and white reasoning, good guy, bad guy, and the professionals often appointed by the court really get sort of sucked into this and are very vulnerable to those biases. So it's very helpful to be able to identify them, define them, and be able to address them as necessary in the litigation.
Module 8, we talk about the seriousness of parental alienation. That is the consequences. And we talk about some very serious, not only psychological and emotional consequences, but the possibility of physical and mental consequences that can occur to children.
For lifelong.
We also go into, we repeat ourselves quite about the idea that traditional therapy doesn't work, it makes it worse.
Exactly. Module 9 is about the reunification program. We cover 5 extant programs that are mostly represented in the peer-reviewed literature. We go over their common characteristics. They do share some common characteristics and approach the treatment of these severely alienated children in different ways, but with success. And I think it's important. I don't know of any source that's got all this information in one place, so we cover that in this module.
It's important to know that there is some misinformation that there are no documented peer review programs that have been successful. That is false information.
Right.
We talk about that, and we talk about the programs that have been demonstrated to be successful. There are some specific litigation strategies, suggestions that we make. If you're representing the alienated or rejected parent, if you're representing the alienating parent, we talk about some very specific things that might be helpful to you in the course of your representation.
I mean, these cases when an alienation case is very counterintuitive, so we have to help develop strategies that reveal this, because the way it appears on the surface is not the way it actually is. And there are some specific tactics and strategies that are very successful in doing so, and we go over that in this particular module.
Number 11 is the role of experts in litigation. What types of roles can you use a mental health professional in terms of your family litigation cases?
And there really are quite a few different roles, a surprising number. Actually, as we list these, I think we're both surprised about how many different roles we do see in these. And these cases are very often expert rich, and it's some are effective and some are disastrous, but we help have some suggestions about how to deal with those.
They're clear do and don'ts that
Yes.
the professional can do and can't do, and you can either use them in your case or you can be cognizant of them as you examine and cross-examine these experts in your cases.
Absolutely.
So one of the things we want you to know is that there are 11 modules. Each module has been approved by the Florida Bar for 1.5 CLEs. That's a total of 16.5 CLEs for all 11 programs. So please, you want more information, you want to register, go to our website, www.naopas.com. You'll get some further information about how you can sign up. These are online education programs, and we invite you to please take a look at them.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate that. And if you have any questions about these programs, you can contact either Dr. Bone or myself, and our contact information is on the slide as you can see. So thank you again, and we look forward to working with you.